Anthony Nelson, Dean of the College of Business here at Bowie State University. I'd like to welcome you to this President's Forum on behalf of the Sesquicentennial Planning Committee. The forum is part of our Sesquicentennial celebration. Bowie State University has been delivering on the promise of opportunity for 150 years. And this HBCU President's Forum is not only for BSU, but also for other HBCUs to continue delivering on that promise for many more years to come. Here to bring you greetings on behalf of the student body is our Student Government Association President, Ms. Milan Mobley. Milan.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
President Burnham, First Lady Burnham, distinguished members of the Cabinet, alumni, faculty and staff, and our Bowie State University student body. I am Milan Mobley, Student Government Association President, 2014-2015. I must say, it's so inspiring to stand here today in front of so many educators. Just to think that we're celebrating our 150th year anniversary, and 150 years ago, we weren't even allowed to learn how to read. We, the students, appreciate each and every one of your contributions to education, leadership, and continuing guidance. It is my pleasure to welcome you here and thank you for coming to the HBCU President's Forum. I hope you all enjoy. Thank you.
And now to bring you greetings and to introduce our distinguished panelists is Bowie State University's president, who has been president for the last 9 years, Dr. Mickey L. Burnham.
Thank you, Dean Nelson. Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
I am delighted to add my words of welcome to you to this afternoon's forum, which is titled Leading HBCUs into the Future. As has been mentioned, Bowie State University this year is celebrating its sesquicentennial, 150 years delivering the promise of education to the citizens of the state of Maryland and beyond. The Planning Committee thought that this event would be a good activity for an important part of our celebration, which will be a year-long celebration. We are celebrating a glorious past, 150 years. But we must live in the present, and we must plan for the future and prepare for the future. Many higher education institutions are in great stress today. Many HBCUs in particular are in great stress. In fact, it would not be too great an exaggeration to say that the HBCU community as a whole is in great stress. I could name a few that I'm sure you are all aware of that are of great concern to all of us in the HBCU community. I won't name them, but you know that there are institutions facing great trials and challenges. So the question before us is, what must we do in the present? The we includes certainly alumni, faculty, staff. It includes students, and it includes, I think, all people who care about the future of our communities, our states, our nation, and indeed the world. So the question is, what must we do to assure the future of institutions that mean so much to our country, to our world, and its future? And how should Bowie State University and institutions like Bowie State University prepare for the future? These are the questions that I hope will underlie the responses that our distinguished panel will give as you ask those questions in the various forms that have been provided. We are indeed privileged to have a distinguished panel of current and past HBCU presidents to discuss these issues and to answer your questions. Each one of them has a rich and broad experience in higher education, as well as specific experience in HBCUs. You have their abbreviated bios in the program, but I want to add just a bit to what has been printed there. I'm proud to say first off that these panelists are all friends of mine. I have known them for many years and I have admired their work. They bring to leadership great vision, energy, wisdom, and commitment. I'll begin. I'm told that when I introduce them, they are to come and take their seats here. They didn't tell me what order to do this in, so I'll do it in my own order. Starting with Dr. Mary Sias Evans. As you can see in the program, Dr. Evans served for 10 years as president of Kentucky State University. Prior to that, she served as senior vice president for student affairs and external relations at the University of Texas, Dallas. She's a proud graduate of Tougaloo College in Tougaloo, Mississippi, and she has been a highly valued and highly respected colleague in American higher education for a number of years. An indication of that is the fact that she was selected and elected to serve as as chairman of the board for 2 of the 6 presidential associations headquartered in Washington, D.C., one of which was Hbcu, the American Association of State Colleges and Universities. The other was APLU, the Association of Public and Land-Grant Universities. So colleagues from those organizations who served on the board elected her to serve as president, and I think part of her service as chairman of those 2 boards even overlapped. But that's an indication of the respect that she has earned and garners in American higher education. Dr. Sias. Next, I introduce the president of Bennett College, President Rosalind Fuse Hall. President Fuse Hall is a graduate of the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and she earned a Juris Doctorate from the Rutgers School of Law. She has worked at a number of different institutions, St. Lawrence University, UNC Chapel Hill. She worked on the UNC, the University of North Carolina Board of Governors, where she was corporate secretary for that governing board for the University of North Carolina system. She worked in administrative positions at North Carolina Central University, Florida A&M University, and now she currently serves as president of Bennett College, one of only 2 women's colleges for African American women in the country. President Rosalind Fuse Hall. Next, I am pleased to introduce Dr. Frank Pogue. Dr. Pogue is a proud graduate of Alabama State University. He earned his master's degree from Atlanta University and his PhD from the University of Pittsburgh. He has served in a number of institutions, but I'll begin with his service in several positions at the State University of New York, Albany, SUNY Albany. From there, he went on to serve as Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Special Programs for the SUNY system. And from the SUNY system, he was picked to serve as president of Edinburgh University of Pennsylvania. He served there as 11 years. Distinguished president, great record, so much so that they named a building after him and Mrs. Pogue upon their retirement from that institution. And so Dr. Pogue is one of my colleagues who I fondly say has failed retirement, because he didn't last 6 months before he was tapped to go to Chicago State University to serve as interim president while they did a search for a permanent president there. He served for a year there, as I recall, and then retired again. This time he didn't last 3 months before he was called to go to Grambling State University to serve for a year while they did a search. I think 6 months into that search, they liked the job that he was doing, they recognized the quality of leader that he is, and they asked him to take the job permanently. His wife was kind enough to allow him to sign on for another 4 years, and so Dr. Pogue served for 5 years as president of Grambling State University in Louisiana. And then he retired one more time. This time, he didn't last 6 weeks. Before Cheney University in Pennsylvania called him to serve as interim president while they do a search. And so all of that speaks volumes about his commitment not just to higher education, but his commitment to HBCUs in particular, and I think that goes back to his early days at Alabama State. So I'm very pleased and delighted to have Dr. Frank Pogue to be a member of this distinguished panel. Dr. George Cooper is the fourth member of the panel today. Dr. Cooper currently serves as the executive director of the White House Initiative on Historically Black Colleges and Universities. Dr. Cooper has a distinguished record in higher education as well, has experience at various institutions. He served as president, I believe, for 4 years at South Carolina State University in South Carolina. Before that, I know that he served for a while, I don't know how long, at Tuskegee University. And in his position as executive director of the White House Initiative, he gets to work with the Board of Presidential Advisors, and so he works with presidents from HBCUs from both the private and the public sector. He is a confidant and a colleague and a person that many of us call upon for various things from time to time. His wisdom and experience are just invaluable. So please join me in welcoming Dr. George Cooper and all of the members of this distinguished panel. And finally, I will introduce our moderator for this session, Mr. David Pluvios. He is executive editor, and editorial team leader at Diverse Issues in Higher Education. He researches, writes, and speaks across the country on education issues. He holds a bachelor's degree in English from Tufts University, and he told me earlier at lunch today that he took a course or two at Bowie State University. Well, that certainly validates whatever education he has. I had the pleasure of meeting him when I participated in a similar presidential panel at Virginia Union University in November. For this year, they too are celebrating their sesquicentennial. And he did such a great job there. I said if we can get him, he would be just the right person to moderate our panel. And he will have an even better time here at Bowie State than he did at that institution. So David, without further ado, welcome. Thank you.